You're in the right place at the right time. If you're here for Brandon's Super Tuesday business meeting, we have this meeting every other Tuesday night. So if you are here for that meeting, you're in the right place at the right time. We'll be getting started here very shortly. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. We're so happy to have you with us. We have Kire with Revolution Trans with us tonight. He's on the line. You're not going to be able to see him. He had some camera problems, so we're not going to worry with the camera, but he is with us tonight to discuss some of his experiences, some of the things that he's been going through in his business, how he's been getting over those hurdles, to share that with you so that you may be able to take some from those experiences for yourself and for your business. So you're in the right place at the right time. We're getting ready to get started here short. Where are you from again?
We're based out of Chicago suburbs, like Willowbrook, Illinois.
Chicago suburbs, the big city of Chicago, cold Chicago. Has the weather broken up there yet? Is it still cold?
It's good for the last few days. It's warm. It's in 70s, 80s, so it's good.
What, man? That's what it is here. That's what it is here in Alabama. So you got Alabama weather in Chicago.
It's probably gonna be till tomorrow, and then we get cold again.
Yes. I want you to think about something tonight before we get too far into our presentation. Most of us here have set up our businesses and we're moving forward with the setup, and we have gotten into the actual processes where we're going through to get a customer and start to build a customer base. Most of us are at least to that point that's on the call this evening. And with that said, if you had to identify something, if you had to identify one thing that is holding you back, that one thing that if you just could get over this one hurdle, you feel like you would have your footing, you would feel like you have what it is that you need to be successful. If you can identify with that, say yes. James says yes. Kevin says yes. Okay. So now, with that said, what is it? Tanya says yes. Chanel says yes. Yes. I understand. You want to know why I understand? Because I had that same problem. See, we have, as business owners, we have a lot in common. We have the same problems. And one of the problems that I had was the one that I'm going to share with you here in a minute. But I want to talk to you about that thing. Now, it could be one thing, it could be two things, it could be three things. Anybody have that issue? What is that issue that's blocking you from getting your business from where you are right now to get over that hump so you can feel like, hey, now I have what I need to be successful? What is that you're missing? Scared of making a mistake, Christy says. Okay, anybody else? That thing that's stopping you from moving your business forward. Tyra says it's time. Having the time to spend on your business, to do what it is that you need to do with your business. I can definitely identify with that one. Scared that when I get the customer, how to get the shippers to trust me to move their loads. Okay. A lot of we are covereds. Tired of hearing all of those we are covereds. Okay, all right. So those are common issues. I'm going to expound on a few of those issues. Number one, the issue of time. Having the time that you need to commit to your business on a day in and day out basis, or however often you plan to commit the time, but you must commit the time to the business, because if you don't, it won't grow. There's no two ways about that. If you don't do it, you won't get customers. That is for certain. We have to spend the time necessary to build that customer base, get a customer base so that we can start to get opportunities to move freight. Okay, so the time piece is very important. Now, the question is, how are you going to free yourself up? How are you going to free your time up? Because that's a hurdle that's in front of you. So how do you free your time? How do you get your time back? How do you get to the point where you're spending more time on your business? Well, the whole idea is you have to start getting to the business where it's engaging with customers and making money, moving loads and making money. Because then we have a business now. We have a real business, and now it's just about advancing it, getting it to the next stage. But that is what is going to free your time up, because the business is now making money. you can spend more time on the business. And eventually you want to be able to kick your job out of the window, tell it has to go. At least that's what most of us are moving toward. But the time freedom is key. We have to be able to get time in order to be able to build a business that we need. That was the biggest thing for me, is to being able to free up my time. Once I freed up my time, then I could use my creative energy. Then I could use all of my skill set to move my business in the direction that I wanted it to go. But without that time, it really becomes a struggle. So we got to make the time for the business. Okay. All right. Now, cold calling with no results, Kenyo says. Now, that is definitely very, very common. As a matter of fact, I was just talking with Kire, and that was one of the things that he said he experienced early on was cold calling with no results. and that was a struggle. That is a struggle for all of us. The question is how are we going about our business? And are we changing things when we don't get the results that we do or that we want from our cold calls? I think it's very important to do something for a period of time. You may say that I'm going to exercise whatever particular strategy you are exercising for a 30-day period of time so that you can get some results and measure those results and then decide whether you need to go in a different direction based on the results you're getting from your calls. Okay, but of course, a part of what you're going through is simply being new. Okay, so that's a challenge that we all have to overcome. The fear of calling, and getting the courage of knowing what it is that you want to say and being able to articulate that on the phone with your shippers. The more you do that, the more comfortable you'll become with that. I know that's easier said than done, but it must be done in order for it to get easy. That is for sure. Okay, cool. Mark says, I have customers, but getting carriers is my biggest challenge. Most times it's flipped. Most times it's people have problems with shippers, but you're having problems with carriers. Let's dig in on that a little bit further. So what exactly are you having challenges with carriers? Getting them to work with you or getting them to accept the rates that you have? What's the challenge with the carrier? If you would expound on that a bit, please. Okay, Stephanie says it's because the N rating that I'm having that same problem too. Okay. Now, the N rating. Now, we all know that N rating says that we are less than 12 months in business and we are new freight brokers. And there are a couple of things that we want to do when we have an N rating. Number one, if you have truck stop, you're going to get a credit reference sheet every quarter. Okay. And when you get that credit reference sheet, if you've worked with carriers within that quarter, you want to go ahead and fill that credit reference sheet out. If you have carriers that that you might have relationships with, you may want to get them to fill that sheet out. You may use their information if you move loads with them so that they can vouch for you to say that you have paid your bills and you've paid them in X amount of time so that your rating can be updated. Okay. All right. So now that's the first thing. You want to take that credit reference sheet and start updating your rating based on the carriers that you're working with. Now, if you're not working with any carriers, then there's nothing to update. So, but still there's a ways around that too. If you're not working with any carriers just yet, for example, a factoring company denies you. And we talked about this a few weeks ago, going back to those factoring companies and getting set up for one load moves, requesting to get set up. Now that's not a guarantee, but that is something you could do. And then finally, you can, of course, let the carrier know that you are not paying him directly. You're going to pay him with a factoring company. So, there may be a chance that he doesn't need to use his factoring company and just go straight to you without using the factoring company, because it's not him necessarily that is denying you credit. It is a factoring company that's denying you credit. So if he decided not to work with the factoring company and work directly with you, then there would mean, you wouldn't be denied. So that's about building those relationships and getting carriers to trust you to come outside of those factoring companies sometimes to get loads moved. That's another thing that Kire is going to discuss with us tonight, is factoring companies and getting your customers approved. And when that doesn't happen, sometimes you take certain measures. We'll talk about that tonight a little bit. Okay, so I wanted to address a few of those things before we got started. Would like to go on a few others, but we need to go ahead and get into what we are here to talk about tonight. Risk is in everything that we do. Everything, there's risk involved. So if we're not taking a measured amount of risk, then we're probably not going to be getting the results that we seek. So we have to take risk. Now, of course, you want to take calculated risk, measured risk, but always remember that in order for you to get your business to where you want to go, there are some things that sometimes you're going to have to take some chances on. For example, this insurance. Of course, with $100,000 in contingent cargo insurance, you don't necessarily have the best of the best insurance, but you don't need the best of the best of insurance because insurance is not required. And even though that they tell you that you need some additional insurance, that's all you need to start. So I wouldn't suggest that you go in and start getting a whole lot of insurance. Now, here's the deal, and we're going to get into talking with Kire here. If you know what is stopping you, if you've identified in your mind what is stopping you, oh, my camera is over here, I forgot. But if you know what it is that's stopping you and you've identified in your mind what that is, and you don't devise a plan to overcome whatever it is that's stopping you, then you're not ready for the real change. Because if we know, then we got to devise a plan to get over it if we're serious about being successful. Otherwise, we aren't. Because if I know what's standing in front of me, then now I just need to plan. I need to strategize to be able to get over what's in front of me. So those of you know what certain things are that's in front of you, the hurdles that you have to get over. Now it's about planning to get over that hurdle. Okay? If you don't, you'll get stuck in a place and you won't be able to get out of that place. So the sooner to get yourself over that hurdle, the better. Okay? All right. Kire, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight, man. If you would, I would appreciate it if you would just open up and tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and why did you decide to become a freight broker?
Okay, so hello everybody. Name is Kire. I'm with Revolution Trans, and I've been into this transportation logistics field for quite some time, like probably over 12 years, but never on the brokerage side. And I was always on the carrier side. So I used to be a truck driver, used to be an owner operator. Then I started working for a carrier as a dispatcher, moving freight, like booking freight for trucks, and that was like basically my daily stuff. And then like probably 2 years ago.
Did you say you were an owner operator?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
I also had a couple trucks and I had drivers at some point. Not for too long. It was too much work for me, so I decided to cut that off.
I got you. So now, after being in logistics and being in it in that capacity on the trucking side of the house, having drivers and going through the rigmarole of doing that, what made you turn your attention toward the broker side of the house?
So how it actually happened was 2 or 3 years ago. I went to a seminar for transportation, and I was interested in the carrier information. And at the end of the seminar, they started talking about the freight brokering stuff.
Okay.
And it was a thing that I never thought of before, and that kind of turned my attention. And after that seminar was done, I went home and I started researching and see how, because I had no idea, before that, what does it take? Is it expensive to start as a freight broker? Because I knew the industry, but I didn't have knowledge on that side. of the
Okay. So
logistics.
most of your knowledge existed on the trucking side of the house. You had a thorough knowledge of how it worked on the trucking side of the house. You were comfortable with that, but you didn't understand it from the broker side of the house. Did I understand you correctly?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. So now, how was the transition when you got to the broker side of the house, and having been on the trucker side, did it make it an easier transition for you, you would say?
Oh, definitely. It was easy, very easy. The thing is that you
Okay.
come across things that you never come up before, because it's a different thing. You approach this differently. You look on the stuff from the different side. And but I had a knowledge about the moving freight, shippers, receivers, appointments, claims, issues. I basically knew how every truck driver breathes every day, what they do all day, when they lie, when they don't lie. I know exactly everything. I can, but I had no idea about approaching customers. That was the hardest part at the beginning.
Okay. Now let's talk about that. You said that was probably the hardest part, was approaching customers for you. Now, why would you say that was the hardest part? What about it, was the big thing for you had to get over?
So when I decide to like start approaching customers, because before I would talk like when I was in the case, I would talk probably with, I don't know, 50, 100 brokers a day, drivers, shippers, all the time on the phone, no issues with conversation with anybody or anything. And then when I start calling customers, it's totally different scenario. I don't know what to say. I feel scared.
Right.
You freeze, and I'm like, why is this happening? I have no idea. But everything you need to practice. Basically, that's what I figured out.
Okay.
You need to keep doing it all over and all over again every day. Just don't stop. Just keep calling. Try different things, and you'll see sometimes it'll work out. But it's basically, you need to be aggressive. You need to call every day. I know it's tough, and you'll get a lot of no's every day, but you just gotta keep doing it. Now let
me ask you this: when you called up the customer that you eventually started working with, how many times did you reach out to that customer, and how did you shape the conversation with that customer?
So to be honest, it was like
win that business
in January, so I don't exactly remember what exactly I said or what happened exactly.
Okay.
But I can tell you that it was like 3:30, maybe something like that PM, and I was like so tired of calling everybody and hearing no, and I'm like, okay, I'll just call this one last time, this facility that I'm done for today. I gave him a call. They were pretty nice, and from what I remember, they told me to send them email with information and stuff, and I'm like, okay, no problem. I get this a lot, so I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And then as soon as I get their email, even if a lot of them never reply or stuff, but I have the information, so maybe in the future, a few months, I'll reach out again if they're not interested. So I get their email, send them the information, my info, what we do, stuff like that, simple stuff, and I get a response right away, which barely happens. And they're like, can you please give us some quotes for these lanes? So I'm like, wow, so I got surprised, and I start working on it. I asked them, when do you need them? They're like, it's like not in a hurry, like in a few days you can give us the the quotes. And I remember I called you the next day to ask you exactly, because the mark at that point, I don't know if you remember, I had a carrier that was giving me much less market rates than the actual market, so I didn't know which price to choose and stuff like that. But I overcome that because this customer was pretty good in communication, and they were open with me. And then when I gave him the rates, they said, these rates we can work with, this rate's a little bit high, this and that. And that's how it started, and they were willing to try, do a load and see how it goes. But the thing is that very fast, in like every time they ask me something or they send me a load or anything, I respond right away. I email them, I call them, I explain to them what they need, and they start liking me and they wanted to give me more loads and more lanes, you know. So that's how
Okay.
basically everything started.
When you first started out with this customer and they start sending you these lanes for you to bid on, you obviously were pretty comfortable already with providing rates, or were you already comfortable with doing that?
So I basically know how everything works because I know the market on the tracker side where they will be and stuff like that. So I can do the research on the market. I do have a lot of carriers that I know here, friends and stuff. They own tracking companies. I would call them. They'll give me rates. But the market was, especially this time of the January, February was like very high. The market is crazy
Right.
these days. Because there is a lot of freight and not enough trucks. So we had to, talk to the customers and find, the reasonable price with my carriers and them that will work for both so we can move forward.
Okay. So now what type of freight are you moving when it comes down
So
to
with this
the
particular
commodity?
customer, we move chicken. It's
Okay.
we need
Okay.
reefer equipment, temperature controlled, and we move chicken.
Did you feel like you needed to know a whole lot about chicken in order to move the freight as a freight broker?
Not really.
Okay.
But because I had experience before, and the thing is that if you're new, you don't know what's going on. You just gotta make sure you don't make mistake on the temperature. That's the most important thing when you move temperature control. You gotta make
Okay.
sure that
All
the
right.
driver and the carrier knows exactly where the temperature needs to be at.
Do you put temperature verifications on your rate quote? Do you go back and put in on your rate quote in special instructions that the rate or the temperature should be such and such?
So what I do when I move refrigerated freight, I do put the always I put exactly where the temperature needs to be at. And with this particular
Okay.
shipper, because they have multiple customers that we ship to, so different receiving places they require different temperature. And a lot of times on the freight when I move on the bills, they'll have one temperature, and then on the confirmation with the customer that I have, they request a different temperature. So the carrier always has to go by the temperature that's on the rate confirmation that I sent them. That's why I always check when they get loaded that the temperature is set on what I told them on the rate confirmation, not on the bill.
Okay. The special instructions on your rate confirmations always suggest that you put what the temperature should be in the special instructions. That way it's on the rate confirmation and you're covered by having it on the contract. But of course, you want to communicate that information to your carrier as well. But I would definitely put it on the rate confirmation. Now that is going to be on the tender as well, but definitely put it on the rate confirmation so it can be seen, the carrier can be aware of. Okay, so now with that said, Kire, what kind of problems did you encounter? You start bidding on the freight. Were you too high? Were you too low? What were your problems when you first start, bidding on the freight with that customer?
So with this particular customer, based on the market, they wanted to be below the market at that particular time. But because I explained to them that they were willing to give me steady work, like let's say same lane from Chicago to Nashville twice a week, and this and that. So if I had the lanes like that, then I can find the carrier that is willing to do a better pricing if they know that I have the freight in advance. So I have carriers, they know every Friday they have a load to Nashville from Chicago. And
Okay.
and I have that tender week in advance. So every time the customer sends it to me, I just tell them this is the information, send it to them. I do rate confirmation. They have this tender for like 4 or 5 days with them, and they know that they'll have the load, and that's how you get better prices. If the customer wants to be on a better side on the rate, then they need to commit, to you or the carrier. So
Okay, so now in those lanes, about where have you been in rate? And what are your profit margins in those lanes, if you don't mind sharing?
So it's not something huge, but I'm averaging between 10 and 15%.
Okay. Okay. Now, when you move those loads, do you see where you may have been able to charge $50 less to the carrier, $50 more to the shipper, and still gotten that load?
So it depends because they're pretty open with me, the customer.
Okay.
So if they have a lane and the market is tough, and let's say it's a lane that they usually want to pay 15, and they have probably some other brokers or carriers they're moving the freight, but they cannot get a move for that rate. They'll tell me the lowest option we have is, let's say, 2,000. Can you do that? And then
Okay.
I'll see if I can get a move for that rate, or if it's the same, they'll give it to me. They prefer to work with me, so they'll give me the lane, even if it's $500 over
Okay.
for what they usually pay, but the market dictates more, and they'll understand, they'll accept, to pay more, if they.
So why have you gotten that type of favor with them, you think?
They're telling me that they like how I do business. They're saying that
Okay.
I'm pretty honest, that I tell them how it is all the time. I always respond on time. I'm always on top on everything, and they like my service. So that's why they want to do business with me,
Last time we talked, I think you were moving about 2 to 3 loads per week. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, and you've been doing this for a couple of months now. So
Yes.
with moving that type of freight, we had someone earlier ask about having issues with carriers. Have you had those issues with carriers? And if you have, how have you dealt with that challenge?
So to be honest, I'm facing the same issue a lot. I know why that is like that, because as I told you, I have a lot of friends that own companies, trucking companies and stuff like that, and I have a lot of friends that still drive. So the thing is that the market right now, and probably you know that, and who can see the board and everybody, the supply demand is totally different. It always on the trucker side. It's so little trucks and so much freight. Then when you have a load, they would prefer to work with somebody that they already set up. They will not gonna want to waste time on setting up. They will, and that's the biggest issue I came across. They will be like, it's probably that freight is out there, the same load is out there with somebody else, and they would probably go to the other broker and get it if they're already set up, then instead of setting up with me, or if their factoring is not approving me, they don't want to deal with it. Those are the issues that came up.
So now the truckers that you are working with, how are you getting those truckers to work with you?
So the thing is that I offer a lot of things. Let's say if I have a lane that that I want to move, and they're skeptic about me paying because I'm too new and stuff, I'll either call their factoring, and I'll offer them a quick pay, but I'll pay the fee. And I'll just do anything just to if my customer is desperate to move the load, I'll do anything just to get them and move the load, for the first time. And after that, you build a relationship, and then after the first load, you see you pay them and stuff, that they're okay. They'll continue to work with you, But it's hard for the first time to make him do it,
Okay. So now, is this the customer that we had the conversation about, you were telling me about, that did not get approved by your factoring company?
Yeah, that's the customer. So the thing is that they basically run the product they have two business names, two different businesses. Okay. And one of their business is approved with my factoring company. I can move the freight with my factoring company. But sometimes, so because they have clients with their site, and some of their clients, let's say, place the order through the other company that they have, and the other company they have is not approved for a credit through my factoring. And so the thing is that when their clients order product, chicken, through the other company, they want to pay me from that company. So if I move a freight for that, for that company name, even though it's the same shipper, they want to pay me,
They're not approved by the factoring
but
company.
they're not approved. So I had to figure out a
Right.
way to still move the freight for them and get paid. So what we did agree on is to open a merchant account, and every time they want to move a freight with the company that it's not approved, they'll pay me with a card, and I'll get the payment right away, and then I pay my carrier directly. I don't go through factoring, you know.
Oh, okay. So let's back up here. Okay. So you're eliminating the factoring company
Yes,
altogether on both
yes,
sides.
yes,
Okay. So you're not using factoring for the shipper. The shipper is paying you direct. As soon as the load is finished, they're paying you.
yes, yes,
Am I understanding you correctly?
yes.
Okay. And then you are not doing any net 10, net 15 with the carrier. You'll just go ahead and pay him directly.
I pay them directly, yes.
Okay. Okay. So now
And I only do this.
here's one thing.
I
Here's
only do this with the carrier he's a friend of mine, and he does the
okay.
same lane all the time, and he knows that I'll pay him, and that's why I agreed to do that, you know.
Okay. Okay. So you're not doing that with all of your carriers. You are paying some of
No,
your carriers
no,
over net.
just this one guy, and that's it.
Okay. Okay. So now are you establishing credit for your business on the, with those factoring companies and with
So
carriers that you're paying on time?
yes, everything that goes through my factoring, we're establishing credit, everything else, and also I do signed up for trans credit also.
Okay.
And every time I move a freight, I send them. I have a new carrier move a freight. I always send them a reference. They fill up, and that helps me.
Okay.
And
Okay. Cool. That's the most important thing, is to make sure that you are establishing that credit, even if you're paying carriers early. Some of those carriers, you might want to talk to. At least I would. Even if I paid them earlier, I would have them, report a different date that I paid. So it's not 10 days. It might be not be one day. It might be 10 days or 15 days or whatever it may be. Because if I'm paying in one day, I'm not establishing credit and on 1 day pays. Does that make sense?
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead what were you about to say about your factory?
No, I was saying usually my factoring company's standard pay is 21 days, so they usually pay everybody in 21 days exactly. So
Okay. So now, when it comes down to insurance, when you've been engaging with customers, the customers that you're currently working with, what insurance requirements do they have for you as a broker?
so far they will ask for the contingent cargo, but as we talked, I do have a customer right now that is requiring for me to have a general liability and contingent auto liability, and also workers' compensation. So this last day and today, I'm kind of going through stuff to get quotes so I can get the policy activated so I can start moving freight, So that's where I'm at right now. But I only think that I have, yeah.
Why do they want you to have workman's comp?
That's the biggest.
That.
I don't understand it either. Also, the agents that I go to, I probably talked to over 20, maybe more companies the last 2 days for the workers' comp, and nobody gets it. And for me to get a W-2, some of them say, to get the workers' comp, they say I need to have an employees with W-2, which I don't. But I talked to them again with my customer today, and they said if we can get everything else, they'll probably go around the workers' comp, and they'll let me do business without the workers' comp. So,
do they know that you are a freight broker and you're contracting
yes,
carriers
yes.
to come into?
Yes, they know.
Okay.
They know. Okay. They know everything. Okay.
Cool. So the type of insurance is what type of insurance are they asking you to get?
So they're asking me for a general liability and the contingent auto, and also the contingent cargo. But I do have the contingent cargo. I just need to add the auto and the general liability.
Okay. So now you're hoping that they're going to accept that without the workman's compensation, right?
I already talked to my customer today, and I explained to him what's going on with the workers' comp. That the agencies don't do stuff like that. They they won't even get me quote. They cannot, you know. And he understands. He wants me to start moving freight, so he says, please just get the other two and do a certificate order for us, and we'll start moving freight, you know. So he said we'll go around it. That's what he said today.
So now, most of the freight that you've moved to this point, has it been all full truck, or has it been a mixture of LTLs and some partials? What are you moving?
So mostly everything full. I had some options for partials and LTL, but I couldn't find the right carriers for that. But I had some options. Some customers, sometimes they'll send me offers for LTL and partials, but I didn't get a chance to move anything like that so far.
Okay. Are you looking forward to moving some of those LTL lanes, partials?
Why not? I mean, I know how it works and everything. It's a little bit harder to get into that field with the carriers. You need to know exactly who is doing that kind of stuff. And also the options I had were mostly a reefer, a partial or LTL. It's a little bit harder to move that kind of stuff because they need to be at a certain temperature. So a lot of people won't like to mix different freight with the reefer, the temperature, stuff like that. So I didn't have a chance to move.
Okay. If you will, Kire, share with us, man, what does tomorrow look like? Today is Tuesday. Wednesday is coming up. Do you have scheduled loads already tomorrow, or are you using tomorrow to reach out to customers? What does tomorrow look like for your broker?
So to be honest, tomorrow I want to finish with the insurance. I have few agents quotes lined up waiting for them to receive tomorrow, and I want to finish with that and get this contract that I'm working on with the customer right now set up, and that's my main thing to do tomorrow, so we can start moving freight with this new customer. And especially for tomorrow, I don't have lanes lined up. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me rephrase that question. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that question. On the days that you're moving loads, what does that day look like?
So usually it depends on the customer and how they do freight. With the freight that I have in advance, if I have a carrier lined up already, I'll just talk to them in the morning to see where they're at, how are we looking with the pickup, are they getting unloaded, how far they are from my pickup, and things like that. And after I confirm everything with them, after we get closer to, let's say, appointment time, I'll reach out to them again just to make sure that they're not running late. Or if anything, if they're running late, I want to know, so I know to let my customer know in advance if they need to, you know, if they're going to miss the appointment or something. I usually things like that. And after that, when they get there, I usually confirm that they're there. After they get loaded, I always ask for a picture of the BOL from the driver just to make sure that everything is correct. I'll confirm everything with the driver or the carrier, it depends who will I talk to. After everything is confirmed, they'll move from the shipper, and that's how it usually goes.
You have a load moving, let's say tomorrow. Do you have that load covered today, or are you still finding yourself scrambling to cover the load all the way up until it moves tomorrow?
So the thing is, it depends. It depends when I get the lane, because a lot of times I have lanes like I have customers that'll send me the lanes in the morning and they'll say, this is what we need to move today. I have customers that work like that, you know. They'll say, this is what we work today, and I'll wake up in the morning, see the email, you know, early morning, I'll post the load, start looking for trucks. If it's a customer that works like that. If it's something that it's I get the freight in advance, I try to have a carrier day before at least, you know. If I have a hard time moving the freight, then the first thing I'll do in the morning, I'll start working on the freight to move for that day, you know. It depends what time it loads. If it's in the afternoon, then I'll have some time, you know. But if it's in the morning, then I have to move it a day in advance, you know.
Okay. Now, had you at any time found yourself being too dependent on the customer that you had because you were getting a lot of opportunities from them, or you just been constantly moving around trying to get other customers and maintaining the customers that you have, or have you found that to be a bit overwhelming, try to do both at the same time?
To be honest, I always try to reach out to new customers. I never settle.
Okay.
So if I have a freight, let's say, and I already arrange everything and they're good, and I don't need, let's say today I have few hours that are totally, I'm not doing anything else, like the freight is covered, everything is okay, then I'll start calling.
Mm-hmm.
I try to call as much as I can. Sometimes I'll have a week that I cannot make it one call at all, but
Okay.
I try to do my best to reach out to always to somebody. If I cannot call, I might send email. It depends.
Okay. Question for you on that. When it comes down to contacting your shippers, how did you decide who you were going to contact? How do you do that? Who you going to reach out to? Why did you decide to go refrigerated freight? You had a background there. What turned you in that direction?
So to be honest, no, I didn't have a background in refrigerated. I did drove sometimes refrigerated freight. I have the knowledge, but the thing is that first thing I started doing is because I used to work with the hazmat a lot. I started calling hazmat carrier shippers that I know.
Okay.
But that's the first where I started reaching out. But after a week or two, I decided to try something else, to switch. And then I decided I would go like an area. Let's say I know where in Chicago there is industrial zones, and I'll go Google Maps. I'll see where these facilities are, and I'll start calling every single place next to each other.
Okay.
And I don't know if they're reefer, if they're van, flatbed. I'll do a research. I see what this company moves, what's their product. I'll get all the information, and then I'll call.
What lane are you moving some of that freight in? Pick up and delivery on some of those.
So I move freight from Chicago, refrigerated, to like Tennessee, Missouri, Indiana, Kentucky. I also moved some freight from Wisconsin. I also moved freight from Idaho, from Colorado. I also moved some freight from McAllen, Texas, to East Coast.
Okay. Quick question. Quick question for you on that. What has been the worst thing you would say you've encountered as far as something happening with the load, some issue that you've had to take care of that you may have been a little bit apprehensive about? What has happened with the load that has caused some issue for you and you had to work through it?
So I actually had a claim, full truckload declined by the receiver.
Whoa.
Yes. So what happened is I have a lane. It's a load of potatoes from Idaho to Wisconsin, but my customer is from Wisconsin, and I do have a carrier that does this lane every single week. Same carrier, same driver. Loads Monday, delivers Wednesday. It's the same load. My pickup places might change and things like that, but it's always the same load. It's potatoes. It's at 45 degrees. We're moving it at, and delivers to my customer in Wisconsin. So what happened is they already moved like four lanes. Every Monday they have the lane. I send it to them. They go pick up. Everything runs smoothly. Perfect. I check everything. Everything is good. And it is a Wednesday. This happened like 2 weeks ago, I think. It's a Wednesday. And they go to the delivery. I give my customer update. They'll be there at this time. I talk to the driver, and she's like, I'll be there at 10 a.m. So I call my customer. I'm like, the driver will be there at 10 a.m. Everything is good. Arrives there, and the carrier calls me, and he's like, they're refusing our freight. Can you check what's the issue? I'm like, what? And that's the customer that is like refusing the freight, So I call my customer, and she's telling me like, the guys that are unloading the freight saying that they measure the temperature at 22, and they checked the reefer, and it was set at 50 something. and they're saying that
Whoa.
something is off.
Okay,
And
so let's back up. Let's back up. I'm sorry. Let's back up. So we're running chicken, right?
no, potatoes. This customer,
Potato.
potatoes, yes, and they need to
Okay,
be at
so we're running
45.
potatoes, and we're supposed to be at 45 degrees.
Yes,
But when they did the temperature check on the reefer was at what?
22. And
22.
yes, when they do the measurements,
Okay.
and I have pictures from that. But the thing is that the
Okay.
potatoes were all frozen. They checked the potatoes, everything was frozen. The whole load was
Right.
frozen. And when they checked the actual temperature of the reefer, they saw that it was like at 50 something. So when I talked to the driver and the carrier, what happened is they ran a freight before my load at 7 degrees. So when the driver punched the temperature, it didn't hit enter to start the temperature running at 45, and the temperature for 2 days kept running at 7.
So they ended up with a whole load of frozen potatoes.
Exactly.
So now what ended up happening with the responsibility on that load?
So what happened is, because I had issues like this when I was on the carrier side. I had claims, I had to deal with insurances and stuff like that. So what happened is there were two options. Either the carrier agrees to pay the claim for the load, whatever the customer is asking for the price, or go to their insurance. Those are two options that we can do, you know.
Okay.
So
Now, something that's kind of confusing on that is it sounded as if like the potatoes may have frozen at 7, but when they checked the refrigerated trailer, the trailer was at 50 something.
I forgot that part. The thing, what happened is the driver woke up in the morning before to go to the delivery, saw that the reefer is running at 7. So
then he turned it
up to make the temperature, you know, to be normal.
Okay.
And the driver is telling me that somebody at the truck stop changed her temperature, but the owner of the company says that probably the driver forgot to punch in the correct temperature when they put the 45, forgot to push start, you know. So it's either one of those two things.
Did the shipper file a claim, or did you file a claim on behalf
So
of
what happened is, because it happened on my load, and because I have a knowledge of some knowledge how to do things, I gave the options to the carrier, and the carrier decided to go with the insurance. And the first option you do is you allow the carrier to file the claim themselves. They need to tell the insurance what happened. And then when we get from the insurance the person on the claim and the adjuster, when they get that info and the claim number, then I step in. I get the info from the insurance, and I get everything to my customer and tell him this is the claim number, these are the agents, and this is the adjuster that is going to take care of the claim. And then we send them the invoice of the amount, and then the adjuster and the insurance talks to the customer to make sure on the payments and stuff. That's where I'm off, you know. I don't deal with that part. And I just need to make sure I'm basically the middleman. I just make sure that my customer gets paid for the claim from the insurance. That's all.
So now it seems as if there was never a question of your responsibility in this deal. It was never a question about you being responsible. It was always basically with the truck, right?
No, never. Because on my rate confirmation clearly says instructions on the temperature and everything. And I never even insurance anybody contacted me about the claim, or the customer said anything on the carrier. So
that's a testament. That's a testament to the Carmack Amendment. The Carmack Amendment clearly states that it has absolutely nothing to do necessarily with the freight broker. As long as we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, then when something like that takes place, it's between the carrier and the shipper. You know, it shouldn't be the freight broker being involved in that claim, unless you're providing a service like Kire is, because he understands the claims process. But as far as responsibility, that shouldn't be any responsibility on the freight broker. Everything was clearly laid out, what the temperature should be on the rate confirmation, and then it's not where it should be. The load is ruined, and now that entire truck has to be paid for. So That's a lesson to always put that temperature on your rate con. Okay. All right. Kier, so now that you have started moving loads, you're talking with customers, how much more comfortable do you feel now with what it is that you're doing as compared to when you first started?
Oh, definitely much easier right now because
Okay.
you know how it is. I already move freight. I'm moving freight, so it's not that I didn't know what happened with the drivers and the moving freight, the issues and stuff. I already knew that, but you feel more confident, definitely,
Okay.
and it's much easier, definitely much easier. Now when I call somebody, I don't hesitate. I just talk to them. If they don't like it, like what they hear, that's okay. I'll talk to
Right.
somebody else, So just keep moving.
Being a freight broker, is it easier or harder than you thought it would be?
Actually, it's not that hard. You just need to be on
Okay.
top of things. You need to be organized. You need to know what to do, exactly how to do it in order. So you can always make mistakes, but you always need to be as prepared as possible to make sure that everything is in order.
Okay. Now, when you first got that first load moved, was that like this confirmation for you that this really does work? What did you feel when you first got that load moved about your business at that point?
Well, to be honest, I was like, I think I called you right away the same day. If I'm not wrong. The thing is, it's a breakthrough. You're calling everybody, you're doing everything, sending emails. So sometimes you think, man,
Yeah.
is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? What am I doing wrong? But the thing is, you need to keep doing it. I
Right.
know I moved the first freight like what in a month, but sometimes might take longer. Somebody might take shorter. It doesn't matter. You just need to keep doing it. Just don't stop.
How long did it take you to get that first load moved?
A month from when I
Okay.
actively started calling carriers. I mean, customers.
About a month
Yeah,
time.
4 to 5 weeks. Yes, something like that.
Where do you go now, Kier? What is it that your plan is for your business? Where are you trying to go with your business now that you're moving loads, and what are you kind of seeing for yourself right now?
So at this moment, I'm trying to acquire more customers, which I have some
Okay.
stuff aligned already, and just keep moving more freight. I'm still capable of
That's it.
moving everything by myself as of right now. If everything goes well and we get more customers in the future, then I might hire somebody. But as of right now, I'm good doing it myself.
So now, is this a full-time or part-time venture for you, Kier?
It's a full time. It was hard
Okay.
decision to make because I had a full time job, and I tried last year to see if I can do two things together, but it's impossible. It was impossible for me because with my other job, let's say I had to cover 10 trucks today, so that means I need to book 10 loads for them to move, and then I have to call customers, and then if I get a lane,
Right.
then I need to worry about covering my lane, and it was too much work. I tried doing it, and I decided to just stop what I was doing and do this 100%.
So now, how has it worked out? How have you been able to manage things as far as making sure that you're where you need to be as far as taking care of the business bills, or is the business already taking care of its own bills? What's the deal on that?
So as of right now, we're still not there where we need to be at on terms like me making a lot of money or covering everything, expenses and stuff. But I think in the next month or two, that's gonna change with adding more customers. So
Okay. Well, Kira, I want to say super big thanks, man. I certainly appreciate you coming out and sharing these experiences with us. It does a whole lot, I think, for other people to hear some of the things, some of the challenges that you are going through and people that have moved loads are going through. I want to say super big congrats, man, for hanging in there, for getting through the tough parts. We put your check in the mail today. Thank you so much for choosing us to help you get started. And we wish you the very best, man.
thank you so much. Thanks for the invite, and thanks for everything you do for everybody, man. You're probably the only one that tells the truth how it is. And believe me, there is a lot of people out there, but when I was looking for programs and what just to look through and learn more, your stuff were probably everything on point when I was doing the research, because I already had knowledge in the industry. That's why I chose you, and I didn't make a mistake. So
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much. Again, thanks again, Kire. I certainly appreciate it, man. You should be receiving your check very, very soon. Tanya, thank you so much, my dear sister. You are always wonderful. Jay, what's the business, my man? What's happening? Thank you so much. Awesome sharing. That was great. Hey, man, this has been a great interview. Kire, man, you shared so much, man, that I really think that is going to help some people out, help to be able to see the picture more clearly, man. So I wanted to say that again, man. Super big congrats for completing the Success Challenge, but even more so, man, thank you so much for your time and coming and spending with us today. That's all I have. I certainly appreciate all of you coming today. I wish you the very best in your life and your business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded. Kire, you have a wonderful night, man. Let me know if you need anything as you continue to move forward.
thank you.
Yes, sir. Good night, guys, ladies. Have a great night. Craig, thank you so much, man. I'm glad you enjoyed the call. Kire, he said this was an excellent call. Thank you for sharing it with us. Thank you so much for being with us. Again, thanks, Kire. You have a wonderful night, man.
Thanks, you too. Have a great night.
Thank you.